It's like a quintessential coming of age.
Yeah. So it's good.
And Billy Crudup,
dude, we're huge Crudup fans here. So
we're big.
Billiam Crudup.
We're real crud boys.
Yeah. Our next iteration of this podcast will actually be the Crudup breakdown, where we just watch only Billy Crudup movies.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hello and welcome to the Critical Breakdown, podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and work our way to 100% fresh. I'm Max.
And I'm Scott. And today we're talking Inglourious Basterds, rated 88% on Rotten Tomatoes.
We're pronouncing it with the original misspelled spelling.
You can hear it, right?
Inglourious Basterds.
Inglourious
Basterds.
Bastards. Why do you think they misspelled it?
It's Tarantino. That's my go-to response. And most of the time, if someone asks me that and I say, dude, it's Tarantino, they're like, oh, yeah, you're right.
I get it. I get that answer for a lot of things, but it just seems stupid to me.
I think it's going for, like, it makes you think immediately how a French man would say it, is my thought. Inglourious Basterds, something like that.
If you said it like that, regardless, I would think a Frenchman said it.
Well, yeah. But then when you spell it... Also, I mean, you say, why is it spelled this way? You know? Yeah. Plus, there is another movie named that, so maybe he did it for SEO purposes.
I didn't know that. That's probably it.
Yeah.
What about, I wonder how many people, ever since this came out, have misspelled the words Inglourious and Bastards in, like, academic articles. Like, no. It's in the movie.
Yeah. All I know is Clippy from Microsoft Word must hate Tarantino now.
Clippy died a long time ago.
I know.
You remember there were alternative Clippies? I don't remember all of them, but I remember that you could turn Clippy off and turn on some of his friends.
Like, if you're the guy who picked Clippy's friend instead of Clippy, like, you already have an issue.
I remember for a while, the Tennant household, it was an executive decision made by me, but we were off Clippy, and we were on, I want to say there was one that was like a mailbox, maybe.
So I just took you down a peg.
Judge me all you want. At me, people. At me.
Yeah.
Max, what have you been watching?
Well, now that the Olympics are done, I can return to my normal viewing habits of...
Who won the Olympics?
I mean, in the end, it wasn't about who won. It's about the friends we made along the way.
Cool.
So,
but who won? Like, who had the most golds?
I think it was like Norway or something. It's one of those wintry Euro countries. They always take the most... But as far as gold, I think they probably still took it, but like U.S. and Canada weren't too far behind, but we're still far enough.
I go total medal count. I don't go just gold.
I think still medal count. I still think it's Norway, but fact check me on that, someone.
I want to say Germany, I think, got third.
Listeners, if you know the exact medal count, send us a sound file of you reading out the medal count, and we'll put it in the next episode.
Because we have no way of finding out.
Yeah.
The studio's in a Faraday cage, so we can't get any signal out.
Exactly, yeah. Well.
Anyways.
What I've been watching.
Yeah.
I started out the week, I needed something kind of lighthearted, something to get me back into watching normal television after my post-Olympic slump. So we jumped in with a fun little revival series here called Queer Eye.
Yeah.
Inspired, of course, by the original Fab Five, the Queer Eye for the Straight Guy series of 2003, which I was a big fan of then. And they began this series by saying, I think they said the original show was about tolerance and kind of introducing the world to just out and about gay men. And this one's more about acceptance, both for them, for the gay community as well as for the men that they're helping. And this one, it's just about 8 episodes. There's a new
Netflix, right?
Netflix. It's a new crew. They can kind of cut looser because it's Netflix, so they can be a little bit more liberal in their language, a little funnier on certain things. If anybody's ever seen I think it's a Funny or Die series called Gay of Thrones. There's a character named Jonathan. Well, there's a guy on there named Jonathan who he's a long hair, like hairdresser, and he's one of the Fab Five this time around. He's kind of the hair guru. And you had asked me like, hey, do these guys? Why are they the experts? And I was like, it's not that they're experts; they're just experts within their field. So there's a fashion guy, there's like a culture guy, there's a food guy. So they kind of have like these archetypes, and that's how the original one was too. But it's a pretty good series. It's way more tearjerkery than I remember, and I kept seeing people talk about like, should I be crying this much in this show? And there's very emotional like stories for the subjects they help, and it's not just straight guys this time around. They help a guy who's not out yet who comes out. They help just like different types of people. So one or two people like are already in relationships and they just kind of need like a life makeover because they don't take care of themselves, and a couple of them have like crazy emotional issues, and the guys actually kind of help them start to deal with them. So it's a neat little series. Way more like emotional than you think it's going to be. You think it's just going to be old fashioned.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was like a total life thing. I thought it was just a wardrobe thing, like the original series or something.
Yeah, but. And the original, they did do some of the life stuff. There were some like big changes, but I mean, it was probably on E or Bravo or one of those stations. I mean, it was 2003, so I don't even know if Bravo was around then. But it was for network TV. It was still they still had to hit ratings and have like a very series approach versus the Netflix more do what we want approach. So, but it was, I loved it back then. I'm loving this one. I mean, I'm kind of sad it was only 8 episodes, but I do feel that's a smart idea because the other one got burnt out pretty fast. Like the other series, it was a couple seasons, but it was so much after a while that people stopped watching.
I can't imagine it's too expensive to film.
Yeah, probably not.
So I imagine they'll do
And
more.
it's in Atlanta this time around for sure. All of it was in the Georgia area, so it probably isn't too expensive to film now. Digital video is so cheap.
Plus, Netflix is spending so much on content. I can't imagine them not making more.
Exactly. And they only did 8 episodes, so it's probably just
they only did an 8er.
Yeah, a great turnaround for them.
Yeah. I watched something lighthearted too.
What'd you watch?
I watched Game Night.
Oh yeah, that's been getting really good buzz.
Yeah, it got a lot of good reviews, and I get why. The directors, they wrote Spider-Man: Homecoming, which was really good, and then they officially are directing the Flash movie. They officially signed on.
Isn't it either the same production team or some of the same people that were involved with the first Horrible Bosses?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know.
I thought the first trailer said something about it having to do
maybe
with
from
Horrible
like
Bosses.
the producers of Horrible Bosses, but producers could be like just
anything.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and this was WB. So, but regardless, it's John Francis Daly, and he's from Freaks and Geeks. Yes. I don't remember the name of the other guy. So it's good. It's filmed in a really interesting way. They use like tilt shift photography to make it look like a board game a lot. When they're in cars, sometimes the camera is like directly behind the car, and it looks like a scene from like Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's filmed all in that way. And some of it's weird, but it never takes you out of it. But it's just, it's not highbrow by any means, but they avoid a lot of the like vomit scenes and like the stuff I really don't like in this kind of comedy. And it's just kind of good, positive comedy. There's one take scene that was really good.
That's cool.
We're tossing around a Fabergé egg.
Just that sentence alone is funny enough to get me interested.
Jesse Plemons is like next level amazing.
I've heard it's a really good role for him.
I mean, he's a creep, and this is a creep. So, yes, it was. They wrote Horrible Bosses.
Yeah, and the sequel though. So let's not even.
There's also the incredible Burt Wonderstone on there. So, I think Spider-Man: Homecoming is what they'd prefer to be known for.
For sure. I mean, the thing with comedy, we've mentioned it so many times, it's so subjective that sometimes something like a Rotten Tomatoes score doesn't fully encapsulate some comedy movies, because we both have favorite comedies out there that are very low, but they work for us. But this looks like it's just a fun comedy altogether.
Yeah, it is. And it got good reviews.
Yeah.
And then I also watched Moonrise Kingdom. I've never seen it.
I started to watch that one time, but it did not pass my 3 a.m. test, which I've talked about before. Yeah. It's very simple. If you can watch it past 3 a.m., it passes the test, and if you fall asleep, it doesn't.
It only works on people with a standard sleep schedule.
It's true. Which already staying up that late to watch a movie kind of breaks that.
Yeah, exactly. So not many pass. But anyways, I actually wasn't that into it.
Yeah.
It was good, but I mean, all Wes Anderson's like pretty good.
Yeah.
So it was like baseline Wes Anderson good. Mm-hmm. But Royal Tenenbaums, Grand Budapest Hotel do a lot more with the Wes Anderson-iness.
I'll agree from what I saw. Yeah. My only complaints I had with Moonrise was like the kid part didn't compel me as much.
Yeah, the kid part didn't compel me at all.
But I did enjoy watching the adults do stuff. Like Ed Norton was interesting.
Yeah, Norton was interesting and Bruce Willis was interesting.
Yeah.
But Even like Bill Murray and Frances McDormand are kind of wasted in it, I thought.
Yeah.
But
I didn't get far enough to see if they were wasted, but I did get far enough to see that I was more interested in their stories altogether. So
then I got wasted.
yeah.
No, Lucas Hedges is in it. He's a little baby. It was amazing.
We're a fan of Hedges over here.
And then she was also in Manchester by the Sea. Cara Hayward. I don't know. She was like the main female in Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah.
And she was one of Lucas Hedges' girlfriends in Manchester by the Sea. I'm sure she's been in other stuff, but it was fine. I didn't love it though. I thought I was gonna really love it.
Yeah.
And I didn't really love it.
Well, that's fair. I mean, it was kind of like the reintroduction, I think, of Wes Anderson again. I mean, he never went away, but that's the first film from his most recent releases where people were like, oh, Wes Anderson's back. Like, it's as good as his old stuff. I remember there was a lot of talk about that. For me, it was Grand Budapest, but I mean...
I mean, did he stop making movies for a while?
No, it's just his... what's it called? The...
Fantastic Mr. Fox?
That one was pretty good, but that was like
that was really
stop motion. So I don't... Was that one before Moonrise or after?
Before.
Yeah. So I think between those two, the conversation kind of started again, but there was a little... lull, I'll say.
With
people just weren't as hot on Life Aquatic and the other one.
The Darjeeling Limited.
Darjeeling.
But that was before Life Aquatic, I think.
No, it was way after.
Okay.
But that period there was like people were expecting more Royal Tenenbaums, and those two were just a little off from what he was producing at that point. And then just like reception wise, I mean, it's not like he went away. I'm just saying it was kind of the reintroduction of like beloved Wes Anderson. So,
gotcha. Isle of Dogs comes out in like a month.
Yeah,
or sometime here in March.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's got great reviews already. It's stop motion though, so maybe some people are out.
Nah, I think as a whole people are fine with it, but I think just kind of for me, I just haven't seen Fantastic Mr. Fox because I never saw it. It wasn't like anything personal.
Okay,
it was just like I didn't see it.
There you go.
But what I did see was a little film called The Fits.
What is The Fits?
It is
It's about jeans.
What?
The fit of jeans.
Oh. No, it's not. No, it's about a young girl in a community center who wants to join the step team. She's more of a tomboy who does boxing with her brother. And when she finally does join her local step team, some weird stuff starts happening. It's kind of exploring that. It's a lot about like isolationism, like just being isolated from a group and trying to fit in, and also like it's about a mystery without being the mystery needing to be solved. It's just about like how mystery affects a community. It's kind of strange. It's beautifully shot. It's one of the nicest films I've seen.
Is it a new movie, an old movie?
It's
I've
like
never
2015.
even heard of it.
It's a little indie film. But I mean, it's all like indie actors and stuff. It's really, really good as far as the visuals. The story was compelling enough for me, but I don't think it was a super in-depth story. Like I said, it's more about feelings, kind of. So I recommend it if you just want to see a interesting, really, really well shot indie film.
Yeah.
It's very short. It's less than 90 minutes.
Is it on anything?
It's on Prime right now, Amazon Prime. Okay. But just even if you had it on the background and weren't paying attention, which I think would be not the best way to watch a weird indie film, but even if you did, you would notice like the cinematography is amazing.
Gotcha.
So that's what I was getting at with that. But
but
no, it's interesting. I recommend it. I'm sure we'll see more from the team behind it because it was pretty solid. So.
Who directed it?
I think the director's last name's Homer. Something Homer.
All right,
Yeah.
Simpson.
Homer Simpson directed it.
He's always had an eye for a good shot.
Yeah.
That's a joke about Moe's Tavern. I don't know. That's all my Simpsons references. I've never watched it.
All right.
Was it the name of the bar, Moe's Tavern?
I think it actually might be.
There you go, drink at Moe's. You know what I mean? Welcome to Moe's.
All right.
I watched an indie film this week too, actually.
What'd you watch?
Inglourious Basterds.
Oh. There he is. There he is. Scott.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you what it's about, but I felt like that'd be mean.
No, yeah, I can tell you what it's about. Do you want to ask?
What's Inglourious Basterds about?
It's really a love story. No, Max, what's the plot synopsis for Inglourious Basterds?
In Nazi-occupied France during World War II, a plan to assassinate Nazi leaders by a group of Jewish U.S. soldiers coincides with a theater owner's vengeful plans for the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's
And the British get involved too. The Brits.
yeah. I think their plan coincides with the U.S. Jewish soldiers. For
It also coincides with Shoshana's plan.
Well, yeah, I mean, it coincides with all of it, but I'm saying like theirs literally becomes.
It's almost like it all comes together in a really beautiful way.
Yeah, it definitely comes together.
It was directed by Quentin Tarantino.
And written by Quentin Tarantino.
Also written by Quentin Tarantino. I saw that Eli Roth had directing credit too on IMDb.
He may have done like a portion of the film then. Sometimes Tarantino will give someone like credit if they do a portion of it. I wonder. Oh, I know why. He did the movie that they're watching. The Bell Tower one.
Oh, okay.
What is it? The Hero or something? The like, Pride of Germany?
A Nation's Pride.
Yeah. I think he directed that.
I thought it looked purposefully shitty.
Yeah, which when you want purposefully shitty, you got to
go for Eli. yeah, so. Big Easy, get in here.
Gosh, yeah.
Now this is a movie with a star-studded cast.
Yeah, I mean, with Tarantino, you expect that now. And even when he started, he had some stars right off the bat.
They just announced his next movie, Once Upon a Time That's what I just said. Once Upon a Time in America, I think it's called.
Is it America or Los Angeles?
I don't know. Hollywood, maybe?
It's one of those.
I am not a big Tarantino guy, so.
I was fonder of Tarantino in previous days. This past year has been
Thursday,
kind of like...
he was fonder.
Well, just
I know.
It's... With his close working relationship with Weinstein, which is now done, I'm sure, and kind of the fact that he was very dismissive of people's allegations against Weinstein is kind of like everyone who was involved with that is kind of
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's just kind of awkward because it's like, do I think as a whole that Tarantino probably does have like a feminist belief system? Yes, but at the same time, knowing just different articles that have come out, it seems more regressive, and I'm not as fond of him as a person. So you can separate art from artists, I do believe, but it is also hard when you see certain things. There's also, did you read the article from Uma Thurman about her experiences on Kill Bill?
No.
I definitely recommend it. It's pretty interesting stuff, pretty hard to read at times. Basically, there's a reason they haven't worked together since then. And I don't think he took her serious when she mentioned her Weinstein problems. And then he really wanted her to drive this stunt car that they were using in one scene, and she didn't want to. But it's kind of his and her side of the story where he didn't think that she didn't want to. So he just was really like pushy for it. She went ahead and drove the car that was like literally kind of falling apart as they drove it. And she wrecked the car into a tree. And the shot could have honestly used a stunt person because it was from behind. Yeah. And then she has had some sustained injuries from it and just stuff like that. Like weird stuff where I think in Kill Bill, he was the one choking her in certain scenes where she gets choked. And that's just kind of weird. Yeah. Maybe you trust the director more, but when you have like...
He wrote Kill Bill too, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting to write in a scene where someone's going to choke and I'm going to do it.
Yeah, like, and there's a scene in here where she's getting, where Diane Kruger's getting choked. And it just made me think, is he doing this? Like,
he's like, I trust no one to choke except myself.
Well, and that's the thing is like, I think an actor easily can trust another actor to choke them because you know you're acting. But the director, maybe if it's a really close relationship, but it has to be like, I don't know. That's just kind of weird.
Yeah, it's definitely weird.
Yeah, and it's just like knowing all this stuff about him, it's just harder to watch his movies. Yeah. I haven't actually gone out to watch any since I started reading any of this stuff. So this was my first like dip back in. And I mean, I love the first Kill Bill. The second one I was always kind of lukewarm on, but I love the first one. But now I'm like, do I? I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of changes the way you watch it.
And I think that's going to be just kind of a thing that's happening now with more and more of these like truths getting uncovered. So at least it's not Tarantino's a full-on creep, but he's kind of a creep.
He's a creep for sure.
Yeah.
I don't like. I find him just a little pretentious. Like when The Force Awakens came out, was Django? No, Django wasn't in theaters then. What was it? Oh, The Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
The Hateful Eight got like bumped from a few theaters because they wanted to show The Force Awakens, and he wants his films shown on these particular projector systems and stuff. I guess old film rather than digital and all this. And Disney was like, well, we want The Force Awakens on this. And they were like, yeah, we're going to take The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And he got really mad about that.
Yeah.
And he got mad at the theater. I'm like, I don't get that.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Like, how can anybody argue that they didn't make the right business decision there?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%.
And it's just like, it always struck me as a little pretentious. And I I hate his cameos.
Yeah.
Here, he wasn't really in it. He had a couple scenes where like someone was getting scalped and it was him.
Yeah.
And then in Hateful Eight, he was just the narrator, so it wasn't intrusive. But like in Django, he plays that like Australian whatever.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking annoying. I hate it.
That's the other side of Tarantino that I don't like is he gives himself cameos, and half the time I feel like it's just so he can drop N-bombs himself and get away with it. And I'm just like, that doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
It's funny because I agree on like everything you just said, basically, like 100%. I think he is very pretentious, and it is kind of the bad side of the auteur theory, where you have a director who has a very distinct voice, and they get to make their movie however they want.
Like Hitchcock would have cameos.
And stuff, and our boy Manite does those cameos, and they're funny.
Big Daddy Manite.
Some of them work, and some of them don't, but they're never like ruin the movie bad.
Yeah.
And Tarantino's just such a presence that like he takes me out of the movie when I do see him. This one, we didn't even notice him, which was nice.
Yeah, I had to look up because I knew he was going to have one.
Yeah.
I had to look up what it was. But
one thing that's funny, jumping back to your just a small tidbit to your Star Wars story, it's funny now that apparently Tarantino's shopping the idea of doing a Star Trek movie.
Oh, yeah. I do remember hearing that.
So it's kind of funny that he was so mad about Star Wars kicking his movie out. Maybe this is his answer.
This is his ultimate revenge.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's talking about directing it, but he's definitely commissioned like they're writing a script or a story treatment or something.
It
would be cool if he did a Star Trek movie. He's never done
I'd be interested.
A big one, right?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if this was on the actual episode, but with Albert, we talked about how, in our previous episode, we talked about how he did Foxy Brown, the Pam Grier movie, not Foxy Brown, Jackie Brown. Pam Grier's in that, but that's based off a book. And we were talking about how that's like the only Tarantino adaptation we can think of.
But like a franchise film from him would be cool. And I think Star Trek's a good franchise to do it because the movies have struggled compared at least to Star Wars and stuff. But I know they're talking about not even doing the next one because Beyond didn't make enough. And
I think as much as I loved Beyond, I do think sticking with a singular person's vision worked for that series. So while I don't love the second one, I do love the first one. And I think JJ, at least having JJ Abrams' Star Trek was like a good selling point.
Yeah.
So I could see why that hurt it. So having like another singular vision on a Star Trek could be a good thing.
Yeah. I recently rewatched the first Star Trek there with Pine, and it's really good.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the blueprint.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed it.
It's a blueprint for making a really good Star Wars movie too, which is kind of funny. Like the hero story is there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hero's journey.
Yeah,
it's pretty,
and that's so tied to Star Wars now. So it's like
it's everything.
Yeah, I mean it is, but I'm saying like that one for sure. Star Wars was written based off that blueprint, like intentionally.
Yeah.
So doing Star Trek that way both makes sense and works really well for a good director like that. So
it's all JJ now.
Yeah.
It's not all J.J. Abrams. You know what I mean?
J.J. Abrams is the Disney of directors, is what you're saying? He's just going to be directing everything in 10 years?
He's not far off already. He's had his hands in a bunch of franchises. Mission Impossible.
Yeah. He's kind of a Mr. Fix-It in that sense. Like he's the guy you call to fix a franchise sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's why they're getting him back in on Star Wars.
Hey.
Whoa. Wow.
A whoa wow. You don't get a whoa wow that often.
A whoa wow.
We got a good cast here though.
A great cast.
Old B. Pitts. He's going to be in Once Upon a Time in somewhere in the country.
He's playing Aldo the Apache Rain.
Lieutenant Aldo Rain. Please respect the title.
I'm sorry.
Melanie Laurent.
She's playing Shoshana Dreyfus, a.k.a.
Shoshana.
Emmanuel.
I love that scene, the first scene when Hans Landa says, Shoshana. I don't know, I like it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Christoph Waltz, Colonel Hans Landa.
In his breakout American role.
He won.
He had been known beforehand, but...
Yeah, the Oscar goes to...
Mostly in Euro cinema.
Him.
Yeah, no, he...
Then he was like everywhere for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
And then I feel like that's tapered a little bit.
It's tapered, for sure.
Like he was the Bond villain in that really shitty Bond movie, Spectre.
Which I hate that he was like in a shitty one, because he's ideal Bond villain, like persona.
Yeah, that movie was a mess, though, man.
Yeah, it really was.
What else was he? He was in other stuff.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, he's done some Tarantino, too, so...
Yeah, he was
Hateful
in
Eight
Django.
Django, yeah.
Was he in Hateful Eight?
I'm pretty sure he is.
Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, this is...
Archie Hickox.
Fassbender was known already, but this is a very early in the rise of Fassbender here. So
Yeah, catch him on the upswing.
Yeah. Was this before X-Men First Class or after?
Ooh, I'm gonna go before. This was 2009.
Okay.
First Class was like a 2011.
10? I feel like
maybe.
10 or 11.
10 or 11.
Yeah.
Definitely after I graduated high school. Eli Roth, the partial director.
Yeah.
He played Sergeant Donnie Donowitz.
AKA the Bear Jew.
The Bear Jew.
It's a good role for Eli Roth. It's small, but it's fun.
He had like 4 lines.
Yeah.
Barely had to talk.
But he has a good...
it's memorable. His
character is talked about by a lot of other characters, and then he has a good send-off.
There's a mythology.
Yeah.
There's a good mythology.
Yeah.
Daniel Bruhl plays Friedrich Zoller.
Our favorite German creep.
I really do love Daniel Bruhl.
I like Daniel Bruhl.
But you're right that you've mentioned
actor.
before that he is very, very typecast.
Yeah. I think I've said it on the show, but he started out in Goodbye Lenin as a very like cute rom-com-ish indie film set in a very specific time period. He's a very likable character. And then everything I've seen him in since then, he's playing the creepy Nazi or just a German-ish creep.
Yeah. Or Sokovian.
Sokovian, yeah. And the thing is, he has so much more range than that.
Yeah,
so I would like to see him step out of it, but it pays the bills.
Here's a hot take. You said he was cute in Goodbye Lenin. Still cute.
There we go.
Still cute.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Speaking of cute, Diane Kruger.
Lovely Diane Kruger.
Lovely. She plays the lovely Bridget von Hammersmark. Smart. Yep. What'd you prefer, her here or National Treasure?
National Treasure.
Easy.
We don't even have to go into that.
She's really good in the National Treasure sequel as well.
Yeah.
Book of Secrets.
She's just good.
Yeah.
I wish she was in more stuff that's like good.
Yeah, what does she do? What does she do, TV?
I don't know, man.
I feel like I don't see her as much as I want to.
I agree on that.
How about, can I introduce you to Sylvester Groth?
Who's that?
He plays Joseph Goebbels, the director.
What else is that guy in?
I don't know, but I just wrote down like the main characters.
Yeah.
He was he was throughout. There's a lot of other recognizable actors in very minor roles.
You have Till Schweiger, who's a recognizable German actor who I knew him from SLC Punk.
Yeah,
he's been in a bunch of other.
I know him from SLC Punk.
Yeah, a bunch of random stuff.
I thought SLC Punk, when you said it to me, was a wrestler.
There's a CM Punk.
Yeah. And then his rival, SLC.
You have BJ Novak.
Yep, from The Office.
Playing the little man. Yep. Mike Myers.
Yeah.
In a very small but likable cameo.
Yeah, Mike Myers, man. I looked it up because I thought he hadn't been in a movie for a while when this came out. The Love Guru came out the year before this.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I was about to give an impassioned speech about how I think we're ready for a full-on Mike Myers redemption, and you said The Love Guru, and I just rescind it. I'll put all my energy into Brendan Fraser's revival, which is started.
Tragic.
It started.
Mike's has started too.
Yeah.
He's the host, or maybe it was already canceled, but wasn't he hosting the Gong Show's revival? I'm pretty sure he was.
I don't think that's a jelly bean in the Mike Myers revival jar, though. A canceled Gong Show.
I don't know if it's canceled. Let the record show. The Crooked Radio doesn't know if
the jelly bean is still hovering above the jar.
I'm just glad that the unit for revival is jelly beans.
I had to go with something that I felt we both would agree on, and a jelly bean jar worked. Yeah. So
could have been a brick on the revive wall.
You have
No. Don't move on. You have to acknowledge that.
That's good.
Pretty good.
It's good.
Okay.
You have Sam Levine, also of Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah.
He's playing just a small bastard. You see him like 3 times at best in the movie.
He's playing just a small bastard.
Yeah. You also have Paul Rust, who's seen maybe less than Sam Levine.
I only saw him, I think, once in the movie.
Exactly. They apparently recorded a lot more and never got to get those scenes in the movie. There's like a bunch of extra stuff cut out, but
maybe in the Criterion cut.
Maybe.
There's not one, but
you have Léa Seydoux.
Lovely.
She's in a
lovely Léa.
Maybe a one-line role in the beginning.
Yeah, Charlotte Le Petit.
Mm-hmm. You have Samuel L. Jackson as the narrator.
I'm just glad I get to say French names in this because I feel like my French is really good.
It's pretty good.
Thanks.
It's pretty good.
Denis Villeneuve agrees.
All that practice for saying Albert's last name last week paid off.
Yeah.
So. And then you have a small cameo, uncredited, from Harvey Keitel.
Was he visible in the movie? I swear I saw him once.
It says he's just the voice of the OSS commander, but
I could have sworn I saw him, but I probably didn't. Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. Gary Oldman's in it too. There's a scene with Winston Churchill, and he was already practicing.
He was practicing back then, before he even had the role.
Yep. And he also played Hitler.
Yeah, he didn't.
He didn't do either of them.
Neither.
Neither of them. He didn't do neither of them.
So.
And by the way, we weren't just ragging on Sam Levine and calling him a bastard. The group that Lieutenant Aldo Rain runs is the Bastards.
Yeah.
So
I think people need
to clear that up.
Sam, if you're listening, you're not a bastard.
No slight on you. He probably already turned it off. Let's be real.
Definitely. Definitely.
8 Oscar noms. How about that?
That's a solid run there, my friend.
It's more than 7.
How'd it do financially?
It did well. Speaking of a solid run, speaking of an S run, budget of $70 million. It's probably pretty high for a Tarantino, I'd say.
Probably because a lot of that setting, I'm guessing, like in that World
Sure.
War II setting, Euro setting going.
Yep. Or the countryside. Yep.
Yeah.
120 mil domestic.
Nice.
Dick.
No.
I didn't need a breathing.
Domest works.
On that $70 million budget doesn't sound too great, but the worldwide probably made a pretty penny.
Yeah.
Opening weekend, August 21st of 2009. I was surprised it was a summer release. This feels like it could have been a Christmas.
Yeah. I said to you, though...
I would love to watch this on Christmas.
I said, Scott.
What'd you say to me?
I said the pairing of Tarantino with Brad Pitt in World War II killing Nazis is too good not to be a summer release.
So that's 1, Tarantino. 2, Pitt. 3, Nazis. 4, summer.
Like, Americans love a good Tarantino movie. They
Fact.
love a good Brad Pitt movie.
Double fact.
They love a good World War II movie.
Triple fact.
They love seeing Nazis die.
Double fact.
I mean, it
There
brings
it is.
in, like, bros. It brings in artsy people.
Brings in hoes. Brings in bros.
Wow.
You called Sam Levine a bastard 5 minutes ago.
He literally is.
Sam, that's not the official opinion of the Critical Breakdown.
He literally is.
Opened at 38.1 million.
What'd it go against?
There wasn't much that opened the same week, but also in theaters. District 9 was week 2 of District 9. The Time Traveler's Wife. Week 3 of G.I. Joe: Rise of Cobra. Is that a sequel or the first one?
I think that's the first one.
What's the sequel called?
I don't know, but The Rock's in it. They tried that approach of fixing it by putting The Rock in it.
If they did it again this year with The Rock, it would make 400 mil. Easy.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe. What would you call the third G.I. Joe movie? It could be super generic, just like a Transformers thing, you know?
Okay, give me a second. G.I. Joe. I was going to say Fallen Knight, but I feel like that's already a...
I think that's a Transformers.
Yeah, okay, so G.I. Joe...
No, The Last Night was a Transformers.
Okay, so G.I. Joe, Fallen Knight, :
Yep. I love it already. We're already on 2 colons.
The Genesis of War.
Ooh, a Genesis is probably too complex of a word.
You misspell it then. Like a
With
Y.
Ys?
Yeah.
It's all Ys.
Yeah. All of it.
Anyways, we'll write that script
Hollywood,
on
send me my
another
money.
episode.
I am ready to produce.
Netflix, you'll make anything.
Yeah.
The Genesis. Yeah. So that was the box office run.
Funny, real quick, sidebar. You mentioned The Time Traveler's Wife.
Yeah, I did.
I was trying for like a week straight to remember our most forgettable movie we watched. And it literally took me a week to remember that we watched The Time Traveler's Wife.
I believe on our Facebook Live episode, you said the most forgettable movie was Takers.
Yeah. But
did you remember Takers when you were thinking?
I did because we actually had like a lot of fun watching it by laughing at it.
It's a fun movie, man. Let's rewatch Takers. I have
and
the DVD.
then with Mr. Deeds, we just switched to another movie.
Yeah, and I remember doing that.
But as far as discussing, I just it's a fine episode.
What about King Arthur? One's pretty.
But that one, like, we kind of remember because it was so dumb. It was like dumb forgettable. Like, I don't remember the plot points, but I remember how dumb it was.
Yeah, Time Traveler's Wife isn't as dumb as it should be.
It's like not dumb enough. It's boring enough, but...
Which movie do you think you could more accurately describe the plot for? Time Traveler's Wife or The Lucky One?
Definitely The Lucky One.
Really?
The real place where I'd have trouble is Time Traveler's Wife versus Winter's Tale. And I would honestly start to confuse them.
Yeah, they're very similar. They could be in the same cinematic universe.
They should be.
They should do one where Colin Farrell and Eric Bana are like trapped in like a time continuum.
They just meet.
Together.
It's a conversation between the two of them.
Yeah, you got those sparkly Colin Farrell eyes, and Eric Bana's shirtless, or actually he's naked, right? He's always naked.
Yeah, he's always naked.
Did he get cancer?
I think he just got shot.
Really?
I honestly don't remember.
I thought he got cancer.
I think he got shot by his father-in-law that thought he was a deer.
Are we still talking about Time Traveler's wife?
Yeah.
I thought he went back, saw somebody collapse. He got cancer. Did he get shot?
I think he saw himself die.
Did he get shot?
I think so.
Oh gosh.
That's how forgettable this movie is. Let's get back into Bastards.
No, let's rewatch it
right now.
Let's get back into Bastards for
What do you think of this movie?
It's good. What about you?
Yeah, it's good. Besides all my stuff I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
I noticed that it is kind of it could be like a mastercraft lesson in tension and tension building.
Oh yeah, especially the opening scene. The opening scene is like...
It's just about 5 like total set pieces, which it's split into chapters.
Yeah, that's what I liked so much about it, is there's basically like 5 scenes in the movie. There's the opening scene at the Le Petit Dairy House farm. There's the next sequence, which is like World War II France.
Yeah.
The next sequence would be like the bar, right?
Yep.
Hammer Smark and Archie at the bar.
No, did you say the theater already?
I said World War II France. I was kind of like,
okay.
There's the theater, the restaurant, the cafe.
Because I did kind of write them down.
Okay.
So.
Hey, you wrote them down. Let's read them.
Well, you had the first one correct, the farm. And you did say World War II France, but it's kind of...
I was kind of bulking a few things.
It's split into 2 like chapter sections. Yeah. There's the Basterds section where they beat the Germans and kind of introduce them. Then the next chapter is the city where you introduce to Daniel Bruhl. Yeah. So those 2 are kind of like separate chapters, but they're very connected in the end, like you said earlier. So, and then we go to
the pub, the bar.
Yeah.
There's a really good standoff there.
Yeah.
A really cool, tense scene. And then was the next scene the theater? The big the climax, the finale.
Yeah. And that's kind of the final sequence.
And everything comes together with that one.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool setup.
It's cool because we both had seen this film already. I think only since theaters. I never
saw it in theaters.
Oh, you never saw it? Well,
only since
only since like once. Like you saw it once and then have you seen it multiple times?
Maybe twice, yeah.
So this is my second time seeing it. I haven't seen it since the theaters, and I knew everything that was going to happen, but the tension was still there for me. Yeah,
they do just a really good job. The shots all linger a little while to build that tension. The emotions in the faces are all really well done. The eyes tell the story really well.
And what I kind of like is, and I've mentioned this before, I know, where really good tensions usually you know what's going to happen as the audience.
Yeah, but
you just don't know
actors,
how and when.
The
characters don't.
Know. Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah.
And that does that a lot. Like, you know the Nazis are going to kill people because they're Nazis. And you know the people under the floorboards in the intro scene, most of them are doomed.
Yep.
You just don't know how it's going to happen.
Yep.
And so watching it unfold is like, you're like, that Frenchman is not going to sell at these people.
Yeah, there's like a power shift. Yeah. You can see it.
Yeah.
Like when he breaks out his huge pipe, it's like a power move.
Yeah.
Then you could see in Hans Landa's eyes the shift from like inquisitive to like demanding, like just like snapping a finger. And then from then on, he's got the total control. And it's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And even just him holding the gun out at Shoshana and then not shooting is like still a power move.
Yeah.
It's like he wants his story to spread.
Yeah.
It's really well done. And that means Waltz is
so it makes
amazing.
him such a good villain too.
So
because he's not like an intimidating guy in his stature at all, but he still has that air of control and
he's very
power.
charismatic, very likable.
Then the next sequence that you see him in, Shoshana is brought by Private Zoller to meet Joseph Goebbels and maybe host the cinema like airing of the movie The Pride of Nations or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he shows up, Hans Landa there, and he grabs her arm and he's like, no, we have to talk. And
yeah.
they're eating strudel, like the least intimidating action that's still...
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And it's funny because he's like, wait for the cream.
Yeah.
And like even that's like, oh, God.
And you're like,
why is there tension
like,
here?
What?
Yeah. And...
There's cream?
It's just crazy how... Like that scene there, you know, the big tension is she might be discovered as being Shoshana instead of Emmanuel,
or she might not like the strudel.
Yeah, there's the other worry there. Yeah. She's gluten free, but no. So there's this tension building, and it's so early in the movie. If you were watching this the first time, you're like, I mean, it's Tarantino, so maybe she can just die. You don't know for sure, but you think she'll probably make it through this. But you still don't know, and you don't know if he knows who she is. Because the first thing he does is he orders her some milk.
Yeah.
She comes from the dairy farm.
Boom.
So it's just like, there's a lot of good little moments like that over and over again. And then later in the film, we see that Landa is aware of Hammersmark's betrayal and like strings her along. So it's this good character thing with him where he's always kind of 2 steps ahead of everyone until the very end. But
he thought he was getting cocky there though. That's why.
Yeah.
He thought it was in the clear.
And I mean, gosh, as far as main characters, he definitely is one of the main characters, obviously, and a good antagonist should be kind of a main character.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's one of the more well-developed ones. If I have one complaint with this movie, it's that some of the characters just kind of die, and that's realistic for a war film, yeah. But at times I'm like, okay, they're just all dying. Like, I care, but not as much as I could if you pushed it a little further.
Yeah.
I'm glad Aldo Rain survives and he gets his kind of like turn at the end. That was fun.
But like the shootout that Shoshana and Zoller have in the projectionist booth, it's like
it felt unnecessary.
That need happening, yeah.
Like
it's not like that. Those character arcs needed to be closed that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
his, I get
but he already was kind of a dope.
Yeah, exactly.
And even if they didn't end it that way, it still would have been he's a dope. And the way it ended, he's just like a pushy dope, I guess.
Well, he shows his evil finally, where he's like, nobody turns me down, something like that. It would have been for me more interesting if if she escaped and he's just exposed as like a full on asshole, and either dies just with everyone else, every other Nazi, or survives but is like exposed, or if she survived because her kind of being like this like angel of death role of bringing death is cool, but I'd rather have her like in the death she created, which is the fire.
Yeah.
And they never explain what happens to the projectionist. I assume he exploded as well, but
they never show him run. They never show him.
Yeah.
He's not an important character.
No, but it's just like it would have been nice to see like
tie it up.
The black guy who helps kill the Nazis escape, kind of. Yeah. Like that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like my only major complaint as far as like the formalities of the film.
Yeah,
so,
a lot of the characters, like Archie, Michael Fassbender, he's in one scene. Great scene, but he dies.
Yeah.
Even Hammersmark.
Yeah.
Did she die?
Yeah, she gets killed by Landa. Strangled.
Yeah.
So.
And it's just like, I don't know, the characters aren't throwaway by any means, and it just felt too much like, we'll kill anyone. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's for the soldiers, it honestly works better because they are there for a mission. They are trying to kill Nazis. Like that's their whole goal. So even like when the Berju and what's his name, Dominic the Coco. When he has an actual name, but
I don't remember
when they do their gun spraying of bullets and then explode with the bombs, like it works.
Yeah.
They're there. You could tell on their faces that they're
it's
like
a satisfying success.
Exactly.
Even though they died. Yeah.
So it's just kind of like they completed their mission. They're doing what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
But then with Hammersmark, Shoshana, like you just said, it was just kind of like, why?
Yeah.
There could be more there. It could be more interesting.
To serve a purpose.
Yeah. But as a whole, I still kind of enjoy the movie.
I dig the movie. It's really good.
It's super fun.
Yeah. It is fun. It's funny at moments, but it's not like a comedy by any means.
Yeah.
But like the scene where Aldo Rain and they're going to the theater and Hammersmark's like, do you guys speak any other language? It's like Italian. And it's terrible. He says buongiorno.
Yeah,
stuff like that. And the other ones just don't speak.
Yeah, they keep doing the Italian hand.
Yeah, they keep doing these like funny hand gestures, and it's very, very funny.
Yeah.
That's really the only comedic out and out comedy moment.
The rest of it's kind of dark comedy. Like there's a lot of moments where Landa is really funny. But you were like, oh, he's a Nazi.
Yeah, like with the strudel, that was funny.
And just his mannerisms. He's like,
the giant pipe.
But then also it's undeniably fun and sometimes funny to see Jewish soldiers hurt Nazis. There's an undeniability to it, like kind of a morbid humor. But at the same time, there was actually a lot of pushback from some Jewish communities saying like using that level of violence, even against Nazis, kind of paints, I guess, like the Jewish struggle with the whole situation almost like as being equal to Nazi violence. So there was some pushback from it. I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I get it. I get the pushback to an extent.
I think with Tarantino not being Jewish, I could see where some people might have awkward feelings about him making like a Jewish revenge story.
Yeah.
But at least most of the bastard characters, they are written and played by Jewish Americans with the exception of a few like German tag-alongs.
And Brad Pitt.
And Brad Pitt being an American quote unquote Apache.
Was his character supposed to be Jewish too, though?
No. He was just like a Tennessee Southerner / Apache.
Yeah.
That's for the scalping, obviously. But but no, I mean, at least the actors were. I say, I mean, that was probably great fun for them. But it's one of those things I could see where somebody might feel awkward about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's on one hand you want to just be like, oh, just don't take it so seriously. It's Tarantino, but on the other hand, it's like, well, that was a pretty serious moment. Yeah, especially in a time where there's still somehow people who claim that the Holocaust never happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff on that front.
Just so odd to me.
Very odd to just defy documented history. Also, in Germany, the marketing had to be different for this movie because it is illegal to have the swastika appear on stuff. They don't deny their history, but you can't like market things with a swastika.
But they don't talk about it.
Well, no, they have like tons of museums.
We shall neither
stuff.
confirm nor deny our history.
But they allowed the film obviously to display Nazis because in art they say it's like 100% fine to have to display the history, but they don't want like a bus with a big display for Nazis, like for a swastika.
Oh, so like even the ad campaign for Inglourious Basterds couldn't include the swastikas, but the movie was fine.
The movie was fine in theaters. Like they still released it uncensored, but if there was a movie poster in the theater, they took the title, which has I think the German eagle with the swastika. The swastika was replaced with like a bullet hole, and anything else that was literally from just Nazis was changed to something else.
Yeah, I get it. I get that, I guess.
So it's kind of interesting because, I mean, like I said, they have a ton of museums and stuff like that, and they do talk about it, but you can't market with it. Yeah. So,
which you could argue that it's like tasteless to market with a swastika in general. So
yeah. I mean, I definitely agree on that. And it's weird because, like we said, you feel kind of awkward at times watching Christoph Waltz in his role because he's likable even as a villain, which is great. Great writing, great filmmaking. But then that's always hard when it's a Nazi. But even then, towards the end, you see his views are like, he's good at what he does. He is hunting Jewish people. He's a pretty terrible person, but he doesn't even agree with like necessarily.
Well, he says that.
Yeah, he's a selfish interfacing villain where he's basically working for the highest bidder / the winner. Yeah. So once he realizes the Nazis were losing, he's like, yeah, I'm going to sell them out. Like, I have a bomb there myself. So even if you guys don't agree with me, like I could still do my own operation here. So it's just kind of interesting to paint him where he's just literally that like amoral.
Yeah. It's like it's somehow even more amoral.
Yeah. So it's like if he was a true believer, that's one thing, and then he's easily hateable. But then also like you're like, I'm using quote fingers tragedy. He's a tragic character. Then not really, but here he's just like he's that much of an asshole
in a different light. Like if he was the hero of the story, you could paint him as a tragic character.
Exactly.
Like the turncoat, like going against Nazi Germany. You could paint him tragically. But.
And it's funny because at least the movie has roots for meta commentary like that, where he says it himself. He's like, the history books will write about me as if this was my plan the entire time.
Yeah.
And then when you see something like the Pride of Our Nation or whatever the film was, it's a sniper valiantly killing all these like evil soldiers, and you could see he hates it watching it himself. So it's kind of like there's roots for like a big message like that could have been made. Doesn't need to be, but it
was it his. He hated it because it's not how it happened.
Yeah,
right?
So it's like changing it. It's making it different. He probably has PTSD too from killing like 300 people. But I would, that's another thing they could have explored but didn't.
But it's not that.
It doesn't fit. So, and it is for the most part kind of a more surface level story.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's not like a movie about the like atrocities of war and its effects on society and stuff like that. One thing I wanted to ask you about the bar scene with Fassbender and Diane Kruger and all them. It's another good scene with a lot of tension. The scene itself is probably 20 plus minutes long, right?
Yeah.
And the ultimate moment is when Fassbender's ordering schnapps or beer or something, and he puts up 3 fingers like the way I guess Americans and Brits do. And it's how he's exposed as not being German because Germans do the thumb, index, and middle finger. What I like about that scene is that would have been very unsatisfying if they didn't build it up the right way. But they had built up the fact that that he's British, but that he's like, he writes, he knows linguistics, he has his accent. Then they even touch on the accent like the authentic Germans are like, that's a weird accent. Where are you from? So he's always on the back foot. If the only moment there was him doing the wrong 3 and then they started shooting, I'd be like, oh, that's silly. Like, that's a silly way to get uncovered. But they unravel it so slowly and with so many layers that it becomes like a really satisfying character turn.
Yeah. When I first saw this, I remember that bothered me because I was just like, it's
like, oh, well, that's stupid. Like, that's what you could think.
It felt inauthentic because, like, if you ordered using that 3-finger thing here in America, I'd be like, weird, and not even think about it. Now we're not at war, in a way that would make me worry about it.
Or are we?
Well, in a way that would make me worry about that. But no, so it's like I could see this time around, I was like, okay, and I did some research afterwards, and that is legitimately how a lot of continental Europeans order stuff. And we started doing it just like while watching it, and it's more comfortable.
No, yeah, it's definitely
it's
better
like
on the
definitely
hands.
it's more natural to do. Yeah. And so I was
A
just kind of like,
I can't do 4 though.
No, I don't.
I need to get rid of the thumb.
Yeah.
So that's the weird thing is the transition from 3 to 4.
Yeah,
a lot more action. Lot more action.
It's just you got to learn it. Anyway, we're getting lost in the weeds there. But for me,
it's a very visual thing we're doing too.
The second time viewing it, this recent time, it worked better for me. It felt more authentic. Like I said, I did research. I found a funny Reddit thread where somebody was like, "Is this an actual thing?" And people were like, a lot of continental Europeans were like, when I first watched the film, I was like, why did he just order that way? That's strange. No. Or they've seen friends order the American English 3 and they get confused by it. But I don't think it's called the German 3, as the guys say for the movie. It makes sense.
To him, it's probably the German 3.
Yeah.
Because there's the German way and the other way.
Yeah. And I think Diane Kruger's the one who says that line, like he used the English 3 instead of the German 3.
Yeah.
When she has her bullet wound. But yeah, it's just kind of like, it worked this time around, and when I did research it all backed it. But the first time I remember being like, that's dumb.
The fact that his persona and everything was under question the whole time is what made it work for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like his rank, like he was wearing a German uniform and everything, all of it added up to this moment. And it's more satisfying than just, like, I'm trying to think of what a less deftly handled way to do it would be, like someone seeing a note or something in his pocket or something weird. I don't know.
Finding like the dead corpse of
or like a tattoo or something.
Yeah.
And those aren't as satisfying because like there's no control over it.
Well, and it's also obvious that the SS guy who's talking to him is like piece by piece trying to like argue his case that this guy isn't actually like he's really trying to disprove him the whole time.
Yeah.
So it builds up, like you said.
Yeah.
What I really like with that though is as soon as he's exposed, the German pulls out a gun and is like, I'm going to shoot your balls. Yeah, and
I've had a gun trained on your balls this whole time.
Yeah. So Fassbender's had the gun the whole time.
Yeah. And then Fassbender drops the accent and everything.
Yeah. And he's like,
he's been caught.
He has that line. It's probably my favorite line in the entire movie, honestly, which is, what does he say?
It's something about like,
you can't waste a good scotch as an Englishman.
Yeah, like if this is like 30-year-old scotch, like,
And he tastes it and he's like, it really is good. And it's just like a perfect moment right there. So,
and that's the only sequence that Fassbender's even in.
Yeah.
His character has a really good like intro to end arc in the middle of the movie.
Yeah. So. And it's the movie sometimes feels segmented because of that, but it really does come together at the end. But I remember my first viewing, I was like, it was good, but it was kind of choppy.
No.
And this time it worked better for me overall, but I had my other qualms with the film altogether.
And if you guys want to hear those, rewind.
Yeah, just rewind it.
What else could we have watched?
Well, we had some options, my friend. Right off the bat, we had another tension-filled movie, The Invitation.
Yeah, we watched this together.
Yeah. I think we watched it...
it's like a year ago now, at least.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like a horror movie.
Yeah. It's all set in a single location.
Yeah.
I love this movie. I think
it's
a good
movie.
Great.
Very good.
I definitely recommend it if you guys haven't seen it. We don't want to say too much because...
I recommend it as well if you guys haven't seen it. Yeah, and I also don't want to say too much.
It's worth it, and you're worth it.
And you're worth it.
Next up, we have The Big Short, which I still have not seen yet.
Really? I love this one. Yeah. This is one of those movies like Steve Jobs where I can just rewatch it.
Yeah.
Because the writing's that good.
This is McKay, right?
Yeah, Adam McKay.
Yeah.
Which is surprising because Adam McKay did like Step Brothers and stuff. This is a big turn for him. It's really good, though. I recommend it. Steve Carell as a serious actor. This is one of the 2 serious roles he has, and it's just like, you're
What's
good.
the other one?
Foxcatcher.
We also could have watched that this week.
Whoa. I like Foxcatcher a lot, too.
I've seen like bits and pieces of this one. I need to sit down and give it a full watch. I could tell that the performances in it were like next level.
The performance is really, like even Channing Tatum, who most people probably don't take all that seriously as an actor, is amazing in this.
Yeah.
It's a really cool movie. And I don't care at all about wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's that good.
And it's like Olympic wrestling, right?
It's, wrestling and the Olympic wrestling.
Wrestling's the sport.
Yeah. Real wrestling.
The Last Days, which I know you haven't seen.
I haven't seen.
And this
Spin
is
me a little yarn about it.
It's a little European film, a little Spanish film that kind of
is this Los Últimos Días?
Yeah, exactly.
I even said that wrong for the bit as I read it off IMDb.
Los Últimos Días.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of like humanity becomes claustrophobic and like plants start taking over again, and it's kind of this guy's journey through it. I think it has to do with youth or something too, but I don't remember fully. Like maybe kids are immune to a certain point. It's a good one though. It's definitely worth watching. There's some light horror elements, as in like like more thriller side than horror, but like post-apocalyptic stuff is usually like that. So
sure.
I recommend
There's always
it.
a little bit of horror.
Speaking of some light thriller moments here, we had Titanic.
I never liked Titanic, and there's no reason for that. I was so young when it came out. My sister loved it, and she really loved it.
Didn't she give you like an ear infection by screaming?
I told her that story again, and she corrected me. I believe that was when I gave her an Aaron Carter poster, or maybe a Nick Carter poster. I'd love for Sarah to correct me again to get the details, but
regardless, that's embarrassing on her no matter what.
Oh, it definitely is. But I'd like to watch it as like an adult.
Yeah,
like after having seen Eagle Eye.
But
yeah. That's my line. That's my line. Post Eagle
Eye. Titanic is definitely a beloved film for me.
I know you love it. So
it's up there with James Cameron's best, I'll say.
I'm not a big Cameron guy.
That's fine.
He's big on spectacle. Give him that.
I think,
but I've missed the mark on a few of his movies.
That's fair.
I'll say.
I think as far as telling a story and like captivating the audience, he's one of the best in that sense. And I think with Titanic is where he blends his more subtle character-driven stories with spectacle. So sometimes he does more one or the other.
More spectacle, Avatar.
Yeah. More
other side of the spectrum.
More character. Could even be like the first Terminator. It's a good blend of the two.
I always forget that he did the first Terminator, which I love. So.
Also something like True Lies, which is more of like a comedy, but still a spectacle film. But it's still very character driven, and that's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and it's top notch.
Big Daddy Schwartz, as he's known.
The Simpsons movie, which I know you've never seen.
Yeah, we just touched on.
Yeah.
You know what? What's funny? Like I've never actually watched The Simpsons, but I thought it looked funny from the trailer.
It was funny enough. I felt like it came out 10 years later than it should have, and that's my big complaint with it. Like South Park and Family Guy had already started like dethroning Simpsons as the cartoon, that people talked about.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would have been so much more beneficial for them to have a movie a decade before. Yeah. But it was still a solid fun film.
I like the line from the trailer, at least, like I was elected to lead, not read. Like I hear that all the time still.
Yeah.
So that's kind of amazing. Right?
That's funny.
Oh.
It's relevant.
Oh.
Adventureland.
This is Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart, right?
Yes, and Ryan Reynolds too.
Wait, Ryan Reynolds?
I'm pretty sure he's like the cool guy.
I saw it when it came out, which was what, like 08, 09 or something?
Probably.
And I remember thinking it was like, if I was iffy on it.
Yeah.
And it's like an indie movie.
I liked it. It's good.
It's like it's a very understated kind of humor and everything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Did I make up that Ryan Reynolds is in this? Am I thinking of a different movie?
No, there he is, right there, Mike Connell.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. It's a very good Bill Hader role as well.
Yeah, I'd like to rewatch it. I think,
yeah,
because there's so much talent in it, like undeniably. And now I like that kind of like understated humor and
I feel
character-driven stuff a little more.
Since this was so close to the Twilight series, that some people were not giving it the full run because Kristen Stewart, which is a shame because she's a good actress. But
yeah, especially now.
Yeah,
like she does. I really want to see Personal Shopper.
Yeah, I've heard good stuff about
that. Came out last year. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I say it's worth revisiting.
Yeah, I'll do that. Maybe even today.
Maybe
no promise.
It is kind of like coming of agey.
Yeah,
so.
And I like those.
Yeah.
I like the COAs.
House of Flying Daggers.
This is you should go because I got nothing.
It's a good movie, is what you're gonna say.
Yeah, this is 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, right?
Yeah, it's
I know.
Xi Zhang. She's in
from
this.
Crouching Tiger, right?
Yeah.
Was she in Rush Hour?
Rush Hour 2, maybe, but maybe not.
It's weird that on House of Flying Daggers, Rush Hour 2 isn't in the people who also liked.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's a good movie. I think, and this is weird. It's one of these two guys. Oh, no, this isn't really what I'm thinking of. There was a video game that used him as a character, like this actor's face, and it was like
Jade Empire,
like Oni or something like that.
Oh.
I don't remember what it was. It's not worth mentioning because I don't have the details.
Yeah, that's fine. I've never been into like this kind of kung fu movie. I don't know what the genre should be called. It's probably
usually
not that.
It's wuxia.
Wuxia?
Yeah, like Crouching Tiger is like a wuxia film.
Okay, I've never been into the wuxia film
too
much until I saw Crouching Tiger, which was either last year or the year before, and I really liked it.
I would say this one, Hero, and then there's a couple others that are pretty good. They're definitely worth checking out. There's some really good Asian filmmakers out there that do these kind of wuxia films. Yeah. So this is probably like a good list here to check out.
Have you seen The Handmaiden yet?
No, I want to. Oh, it's on Prime still, right?
I don't know, but I bought it so we can watch it. It's so good.
Yeah, I want to watch it.
Yeah.
Let's get back to this little countdown right here.
Sure.
Next up, very similar to House of Flying Daggers, we have Freaky Friday.
Yeah, this is Zac Efron and the guy from Friends.
No.
I know. It was a bit.
Oh, okay.
Because they did with Switchy, right?
Well, no, that was a de-aging, not a Switchy. That was 17 again.
My bad. My bad, everybody.
Yeah. Freaky Friday is the mom-daughter switch with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan.
This is towards the end of Lilo's peak, right?
No, this is kind of the beginning. This is pre-Mean Girls. Man. So, I mean, the peak there is like...
I clearly don't know much about Freaky Friday.
The peak there is like a year and a half, so maybe you're right, actually.
Every movie was in both the start and end of her peak.
We don't have to go into it too much because there's more interesting movies like The Breakfast Club.
I'd like to watch this one again. Because I'm not convinced. I've seen it start to finish.
Oh, really? I love it.
I'm not convinced. I maybe have.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced.
There's one sequence that is like a tearjerker for me, which is when they all explain their problems. It hits home.
Everybody's got problems, man.
Yeah, man. It's good. La Femme Nikita, also known as Nikita.
Yeah.
This is a...
Russian, right?
No, it's French. It's Luc Besson.
Oh, it's a La Femme Nikita.
Yeah, it's like Besson's big breakout movie.
Yeah.
So it was so good they made like 2 TV shows out of it.
So this came before Fifth Element?
Yeah. It's early 90s for sure. Early 90s. It's good. I haven't seen it since like 96 or something, but it's good.
It's no Shrek.
It is not, but you know what it is?
Shrek?
Shrek
is it's interesting because it's so mememed now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easy to forget that it's actually a legitimately good movie.
Yep.
Like it was very good.
I was very standoffish on watching Shrek when it came out, and then I watched it and I liked it.
I mean, when it came out, I was 9 or 10, so I was like right where I needed to be, and it's so good.
I was a pretentious high school kid, so I was like,
so like too good for Shrek. Kind of like how I only just saw Moana, and it's so good.
Means family.
It was 3 months ago that I saw Moana, and I still tell people I just saw Moana. That's
that
how good it was.
It's that good.
Shrek's good.
Shrek is good.
I wonder how the animation holds up, because this is what, 2000, 2001?
Yeah. I feel like it's probably not as good as like Toy Story, but even that, like the difference between Toy Story 1 and 3, you could still see differences there. Like there's more smooth movement and stuff.
It's like a 15-year difference, right?
Yeah. So, it's probably like that, where you're like, oh yeah, animation got better.
The only thing with Shrek 2 is like the sequels were like Toy Story 2 and 3 are great. The Shrek series did not hold. Like 2, I remember was still good.
One of the sequels was really solid.
But then like 3 and more
weren't. They're like up to 8 now.
Justin Timberlake was in one of them, I remember.
There's a Spanish cat.
He was in the second one though, Puss in Boots.
Yeah, so he's good.
Played by Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, that one's good then. Yeah.
The one with Justin Timberlake, I want to say that's Shrek the Third. I believe he plays Prince Charming.
Is it the one where everything gets reversed?
I don't know, but all I remember is I saw that one at the Cherrydale Theater, and as me and my dad were watching, I was like, I'm too old for this.
You look over and
I do think there's some
Danny
de-aging.
Glover says the same thing. Speaking of being too old for this shit, we got American Beauty.
Nice.
that's a terrible transition.
Yeah. But it holds up. I watched it a few months ago for the first time. I was very impressed because before I watched it, people were telling me like, "Oh, it probably doesn't hold up too well," but I think it's still. Really
I probably
good.
said that to you because
I think you and Kara
feared revisit it because to me there's some things that in my head I'm like, yeah, that probably doesn't hold up as much.
Can you make that noise
voice,
again?
Yeah. But no, my brother was actually very interested in us doing that movie for this episode. I just now realized.
Sorry, Eric.
Yeah, sorry.
I really liked it. It was really good. You know, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it.
We could do a critical breakdown, missed connections, where we let some guests pick out like a missed movie, and we can go over it.
Sure. Yeah.
And that could be the first one.
Yeah. So Eric, call us up.
Yeah. No, I remember liking this movie a lot when it came out, but that was like 2000 or something. And I think what I've always worried about is there's stuff like he's like, "Look at me, I'm pathetic, jerking off in the shower," and I'm just like, okay, man, like, don't blame your wife for that. That's your fault. I don't know. Things like that, I think back on, I'm like, probably some of that just wouldn't work for me.
Yeah.
But I think my brother did say to me that he thinks it's funny as he's aged, every time he's revisited the movie, like, his perspective on who he identifies with changes. So that's kind of interesting.
That is funny.
And that's Sam Mendes, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's his career has obviously kept going. So
obviously,
I mean, there's probably something still there, but also with Kevin Spacey being a major creep, I've worried about revisiting
I wonder
it
if
that.
with Creepo Spacey.
Yeah. So
and his character is a major creep.
Yeah, for sure. So. But that is I remember being very impacted from that movie when I watched it.
Yeah.
So we also could have watched RoboCop.
I've never seen it.
It is
it's
very
boy, right?
exploitive, very violent and very awesome.
Yeah.
But also kind of like aged, but in a good way. It's one of those movies, you know?
This is Joel Kinnaman.
Not this one.
I know.
Not that one.
I know.
Not that one.
I know, but I said it for the joke.
The joke was there, though. But no, I did watch that one. That one was not that good at all.
Who else was in that one?
Samuel L. Jackson, maybe?
What? Really?
I think he plays the villain overall.
Man, he'll do anything.
He really will. I wonder if he was in Tarzan, the Disney Tarzan.
He was in the one that came out 2 years ago.
I don't even know if he was or not.
He was with Christoph Waltz. Tarzan,
God, that's amazing.
Legend of Tarzan. Is that what it's called with Margot Robbie?
Yeah.
Samuel
the one that I famously defended as possibly having an audience.
Still hasn't seen it.
Still haven't.
I like the cartoon.
Not the audience.
I remember seeing the cartoon at this really old theater in Springfield, Mass, where I grew up, that they had just renovated, and it had like a balcony and stuff. It was really cool. I remember it was pouring rain. I don't know why I have this vivid memory of seeing it. Me and my dad saw it. It was a total storm, lightning, like the power might have gone out in the theater at one point. But I just remember it was really cool.
You were not too old for that.
I wasn't too old for that.
I remember a lot of hype around the Tarzan like swinging and sliding scenes. I think they blended like 2D and 3D animation for it, maybe.
Sure, yeah.
But I remember that being like the hot topic on it.
I remember that Phil Collins and JT on the
Phil Collins
soundtrack.
Yeah.
And Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, but no one mentions JT when they talk about it.
Shut the fuck up, Justin.
Yeah, it's like it's Phil.
Yeah.
It's Phil.
It's a good soundtrack too.
Yeah, those songs are
Strangers Like Me.
Yeah. We also have 2 Kevin Smith movies we could have watched.
And Kevin Smith, get well soon.
Get well soon, bud.
Just had a bad heart attack.
Yeah. And avoided a worse heart attack. So kind of like they found the issue before it got too bad, which is good. And I definitely felt impacted from reading that turn of events because he's a good writer and can tell a good story to a certain degree. He's great at like
right word, but he's divisive.
Orating stories. He is divisive. I haven't loved his recent films, but a lot of his early stuff really kind of got me interested in filmmaking.
I really liked watching The Death of Superman Lives. His parts in it.
Yeah,
he speaks so candidly and stuff, but he just seems like a very smart guy and a cool guy to talk to.
He's funny because he's always like so sharp when he talks about stuff.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. And if you ever catch any of his speaking stuff, it's usually pretty solid. Yeah. But the 2 films we could have watched were Chasing Amy and Clerks, which
I've never seen either. Chasing Amy is Ben Affleck, right?
Yeah, and they're movies that I fear to revisit also. Clerks less so. Clerks is just like a black and white indie film. It's kind of like the textbook 90s, let's make an indie film using credit card scenario. Very cheap. Looks cheap, but also, I mean, it works.
It works,
And
did they officially greenlight a Clerks 3, or was he just writing a script for Clerks 3?
I've I've heard both,
Yeah.
honestly. And then I've heard him say stuff like, I make my weird, shitty movies so I could do things like Clerks because he makes enough money and contracts and stuff. But I also know he's been shopping out like a Jay and Silent Bob like a reboot film maybe where somebody else plays them. That's what it sounded like. Kevin Smithy is what it feels like.
No, it doesn't feel like it feels bad.
Yeah.
To have Jay and Silent Bob played by different people.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't feel in the spirit of the characters and stuff.
I just know it as he's been shopping it as the reboot, so I don't really know the full details. But with Chasing Amy, I was worried about revisiting this one because it's very...
Who else is in it?
Joey Lauren Adams, Jason Lee. I think those were the big ones. The issue with it being it's a guy who falls in love with a lesbian, but as the story goes on, basically, he finds out she has like kind of just a quote unquote sordid history. She just had a sexual past that he wasn't comfortable with. That expanded past. Well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Expanded past being a lesbian to different relationships with different men and stuff like that. And Ben Affleck's character has to like struggle through all of it. And the relationship in the end doesn't work, basically. And they also kind of call out some issues with him and his best friend and how his best friend reacts to him all the time. It's an interesting film for like being like a 1997 release, but I just don't know if it'd hold up. It seems very like mid-90s thoughts on homosexuality and gayness and stuff like that.
Not the best time for that.
But at the same time, it might be worth a revisit. I don't know. It might be worth a
Are your
first-time
fears
visit.
there similar to your fears with like American Beauty, which also has early opinions on homosexuality and stuff? I know there's other factors, but I can see both of those movies.
I mean, that's always kind of a fear with certain media. It's not even a fear like, oh, I don't want to. It's just like, your opinion will change on something. And you don't want to move something from like beloved in your head to like less liking it. Yeah,
because the time is different.
Yeah. But if you can look through it and understand that in a lens, I think it's fine. We also had the original Planet of the Apes.
Never seen it. Charlton Heston?
Rowdy McDowell. I love this movie. It's one of my favorites. I definitely watch it probably at least once a year.
Really?
It's one of my go-to like comfort films.
Mine is the Wahlberg one.
Oh yeah. It's because Tim Roth plays such a realistic chimpanzee.
I don't think we ever talked about. Did you see War of the Planet of the Apes, the last of this trilogy?
Didn't get to see it.
I didn't like it.
Yeah,
because I love the first two.
Critics loved it, but I've heard some mixed stuff from people I know.
Yeah, I just like it felt too blockbustery. It felt too generic blockbuster to me. But
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, and maybe I'll check this one out.
You definitely should.
We could do Planet of the Episodes. That doesn't.
It doesn't. So let's move on. Yeah. Almost Famous movie.
Yeah, this is a good one.
I love for sure. Yep. I know you liked it.
It's not my favorite Cameron Crowe.
Yeah.
I still love it, but it's like I'm still team Say Anything, team Jerry Maguire. I go Say Anything, Jerry Maguire, Almost Famous.
This and Jerry Maguire are my top two.
Yeah. It's very good though.
Yeah. Definitely
really
quotable.
Good cast. Yeah.
A lot of the cast has gone on to be in even bigger things, and it's still like very relevant.
This is peak Cameron Crowe.
Yeah, peak Cameron
Crowe.
Like
Aloha is bullshit.
Yeah. This is also like a wonderful coming of age story. So
yeah.
And dealing with
it's like
adulthood.
the quintessential coming of age.
Yeah. So it's good.
And Billy Crudup,
dude, we're huge Crudup fans here. So
we're big.
Billiam Crudup.
We're real crud boys.
Yeah. Our next iteration of this podcast will actually be the Crudup breakdown, where we just watch only Billy Crudup movies.
Yeah. Let's do it.
So we will not be able to watch The Usual Suspects.
And that's fine with me, because I think this movie is so overrated.
I agree. I think it's only famous because it's like a quotable...
It's not even that quotable.
Well, people quote it.
There's like two lines that are
and
quotable.
They get quoted a lot.
Yeah.
But and it's really just people saying Kaiser Sose a lot. But it's that Fight Club era, like...
That's exactly what
cool
it is.
Dude movie.
That's so. And that's probably why it took me like 20 years to watch it.
Yeah.
And it's probably why I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's like this, I grew up with the Boondock Saints in movies that, like, that was an audience. I just don't like that movie. Like, I don't like Fight Club that much either. So maybe everything that's in there, I don't like.
Yeah. If your college dorm was covered in Usual Suspects and Fight Club posters, Scott and you probably would not get along that well.
If your college dorm was covered in Usual Suspects posters, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But I'm not.
One movie that I think you have not seen, but I love, is 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, I didn't see. I only saw 11 Monkeys. Let's see this.
Classic Skeets joke right there.
Not really.
No, 12 Monkeys is good.
Yeah, it's Terry Gilliam, right?
Yep.
And
with
it's
Brad Pitt
I think he won an Oscar for this.
and
didn't
Bruce
he?
Willis. Did he?
I don't know. He was nominated.
I could see that. It's an interesting
Time travel, right?
time travel movie.
Point of fact: Pitt was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, but Kevin Spacey for The Usual Suspects beat him.
Damn it, Spacey. Just add that to the list of things we dislike Spacey for.
Yet another reason.
No, this movie's great. Is
it long? I feel like I didn't watch it because it was long.
I don't think it's like super long.
A
It's
little over 2 hours.
129
It's not that
minutes.
long.
Yeah,
It's
so
not
it's
long at
just
all.
over 2 hours. It's good. It's actually based off a little French film called La Jetée. But that one's like a silent, well, it's not silent, but it's like a photograph movie.
It's pretty quiet.
It's short. It's photograph slideshow movie. It's weird. It's an
like, look at this
experimental film.
photograph.
But no, definitely check out 12 Monkeys.
Oh, it got the double definitely. I have to.
Yeah,
now.
you have to. So
It's a good line, man.
yeah, from here out, man, we keep saying it. It's getting harder
No, you
to
know,
pick.
I bet next week won't be that
It's
good.
getting harder to pick.
It's getting harder and harder to breathe.
You got any final thoughts, Scott, on Inglourious Basterds?
No, it's good though. It's my favorite Tarantino, I think.
That's fair.
This is my number 1. Pulp Fiction's my number 2. I liked Hateful Eight. It's probably my number 3. And then Django.
For
And
me,
I think that's all I've seen by him though.
Yeah.
I haven't seen his whole.
I've not seen all of Hateful Eight, so I can't really
Yeah.
place that one.
I ended up
turned
liking it more
off.
than I thought I would.
Honestly, got like 15 minutes into it. and
I know
just
you
had to
didn't
shut
like
off.
it, yeah.
I might give it another view, but this was like right when all the shit was breaking.
Yeah.
I don't know why I decided to watch it then, but
His name was in the news. So you're like, oh yeah, I should watch that.
yeah. No, so if I had to rank, I'd probably go Kill Bill Volume 1, then Pulp Fiction with Jackie Brown, and this one kind of side by side.
Yeah.
I might pick this one a little bit, like a half point higher than Jackie Brown.
Sure.
So, but that's where I'd rank him.
And I'm hoping that his new Star Trek movie is my new number
There we
1.
go. Yeah.
Max, where can the good people find us?
You can find us eating strudel with cream or at thecriticalbreakdown.com.
Yep.
You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter, we're Breakdowncast. Facebook, just look us up. We're on Instagram as The Critical Breakdown. We now have a new email address, which is podcast@thecriticalbreakdown.com.
Yeah.
Way easier.
Yeah.
You can always find me using the German 3 to order more scotch for my friends.
Yeah.
Or you can find me at Max Rivera Film on Twitter.
You can find me cowering under the floorboards of a local French dairy farmer's home. You can find me at Instagram at breakdown_Scott. Or, Twitter too.
Yeah.
It's the same name. Still don't check it, but I've logged in.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah. Max said most of the things I say, so I'll just say, leave us a rating and a review.
It's a little one.
Don't take much time.
Just say good.
Just say, good stuff, boys. Give it up. We need it sometimes. Jason Brown did our music.
Josh Rivera did our artwork. Yeah.
Yeah. And Walter, with his pretty new veneers, is a podcast dog.
Fresh teeth.
Fresh teeth. Or podcast boy. Next week on the Critical Breakdown, a special gift. Part 2.
We're doing a change of pace from the countdown. We're watching Bahubali, which is now streaming on Netflix.
The Bollywood Breakdown. Yeah, everybody watch it. We'll all talk about it together, sort of.